Alright guys, welcome back. This is Hidden Planet X, and today we're going to be looking at Ghave, Guru Spores, my EDH deck. Ghave is a 5/5 fungus shaman, legendary creature of course, for 2 and black, green, white. He enters with 5 +1/+1 counters on him, and for 1 you can remove a counter to create a 1/1 green sapperling, and you can pay 1, sacrifice a creature, and put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So, without anything, Ghave doesn't actually make, he doesn't really make much, but he enables a lot of combos. So this is more of a control deck till we are able to hit our stuff. So, since this is a control deck, we'll start with the removal first. First up, we have Acidic Slime. 3 and 2 green for a 2/2 ooze with Death Touch. When it enters, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. Nice value creature and stops a lot of blockers. Ashen Rider, 4, 2 white, 2 black for a 5/5 flying Archon. When it enters or dies, exile target permanent. It's expensive, but the exile effect is really nice. Aura Shards is 1 green white for an enchantment that has whenever a creature enters under our control, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. So this really hoses a lot of Voltron strategies and just a lot of the ramp strategies. Basically, Basically with Ghave out on the field, it's 2 mana, destroy an artifact or enchantment. Bane of Progress, 4 and 2 green for a 2/2 elemental. When it enters, destroy all artifacts and enchantments. It gets a +1/+1 counter for each permanent destroyed this way. So this is a risky card in this deck because we do run a lot of artifacts or enchantments, but generally you can find a way to play this without really hurting yourself too much. Next up, Beast Within, 2 and a green for an instant, destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 beast token. So not I say this is still target removal, but non-specific removal is really good. That way you're not stuck with destroy an enchantment card in your hand and all they've got is creatures. So just very versatile. Butcher of Malakir, 5, 2 black for a 5/4 vampire warrior with flying. Whenever it or another creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. This includes your tokens, so when you're cycling your tokens for 2 mana, you get these triggers. Decree of Pain, 6 and 2 black for sorcery, destroy all creatures, they can't be regenerated, and you draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. Very nice effect. It's a bit expensive, but it'll refill your hand in the late game. You also can cycle this for 3 and 2 black, and when you do, all creatures get -2/-2. So unless your opponents are running stifle effects, this will always go through, so it's also another great ability for the card. Fleshbag Marauder, 2 and a black for a 3/1 zombie warrior. When it enters, each player sacrifices a creature. It might not sound amazing, but there's quite a few turns that I just tutor for that to hit that pesky commander that I don't really want to deal with. So, works well. Next up, Grave Pact, 1 and triple black for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control is put into a graveyard, each other player sacrifices a creature. Again, with Ghave out, it's really easy to control the board, and that basically just stops them from playing creatures. Hero's Downfall, 1 and 2 black for an instant, destroy target creature or planeswalker. It's really nice to be able to destroy a planeswalker. We're not running a whole lot of creatures, so being able to swing in is not always the easiest thing, and it's just easy removal spell. Crows Grip, 2 and a green for instant with split second, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Really useful utility card to stop that blue player from topping or just about anything. Merciless Eviction, 4 white black for a choose 1, exile all artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or planeswalkers. Really nice exile effect. Really versatile. Path to Exile, 1 white instant, exile a creature, its controller searches for a basic, puts it into play tapped. This should be a swords, but I don't actually own a swords, so. Return to Dust, 2 and 2 white for an instant. Exile target artifact or enchantment. If this is cast during your main phases, you can exile another one. So you generally want to cast this on your main for the extra value, and it just gets rid of 2 things. So Selesnya Charm, 1 green, 1 white for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 in trample. Not really used too much. Exile target creature with power 5 or greater. That's its main use. Or put a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance on the battlefield. Not really used. So this is basically just used for its removal. Again, if I had, this would be a path, this would be a sword, sorry, instead of Selesnya Charm. Next up, Children, Whispering 1, 5, and 2 black for a 6/6 Swamp Walking Praetor. Beginning of your upkeep, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, and at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. So we have a lot of value creatures, so being able to trade them off and getting them back every turn gives you a lot of advantage. Silklash Spider, 3 and 2 green for a 2/7 spider with reach, and pay X and double green. It deals X damage to each creature with flying. This is to remove all the pesky flyers. It does really good on defense, and it's just a really nice removal spell. Toxic Deluge, 2 and a black for sorcery, and as additional cost, you may pay X life. All creatures get -X/-X. Really, really versatile removal spell. It's one of the best removal spells in the game. Being able to customize exactly what is great. Yes, if you're really behind, paying 10 life is not a good thing, but generally it'll help you stabilize quite easily. And being 3 mana, you often will be able to cast more than one spell to rebuild. Next up, Utter End, 2 and black-white. Instant exile target non-land permanent. Again, just if you gotta remove something, you gotta remove something. And lastly, we have Wrath of God. Destroy all creatures they can't be regenerated for 2 and 2 white sorcery. Again, everyone needs a board wipe. Now that we've gone through the removal, let's go to, I labeled this good stuff because it doesn't really fall under a certain category. It's tutors and just anything that is fun to play around with. So we'll start off with Avacyn, 5 and triple white, for an 8/8 flying vigilance indestructible angel with all other permanents you control have indestructible. So it stops the rats. It doesn't stop the exile effects or the -X/-X effects, but when you're playing those Bane of Progress, it's really nice to have all your stuff indestructible. Demonic Tutor, 1 and a black. Search your library for a card, put it in your hand, shuffle. Again, define your silver bullets. Diabolic Revelation, X3 and 2 black for sorcery. Search your library for X cards, put them in your hand, shuffle. There are some mana doublers, and there's a lot of ramp in this deck, so late game you can search for 5 cards, and if they haven't killed you by your next turn, or sometimes it doesn't even matter, you basically just win. So Aladamri's Call, green-white, instant, search your library for a creature, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. Again, it's Demonic Tutor for creatures. We have got some value creatures, and some, that way you can just get into your hand. Elixir of Immortality, 1 mana for an artifact, 2 and tap, sacrifice it, don't sacrifice it. Gain 5 life, shuffle this and your graveyard into your library. So in case they have destroyed all your stuff, you need some life, or they're trying to mill you out, Elixir stops that. Harmonize, 2 green, draw 3 cards. Really good for the amount of mana you need to spend, and it just refills your hand. Living Death, 3 black. Each player basically just swaps all the cards in his graveyard, all the creatures in his graveyard for all the creatures in his field. So I'm not going to go into exactly how it does it. There's not a whole lot of creatures, but often you can, this is basically almost a removal spell. We do have a lot of ways to exile graveyards, so that way it's basically a one-sided effect, and that makes it really broken. Next up, Mimic Vet. 3 mana artifact with imprint. Whenever a non-token creature dies, you may imprint it under this, and you can pay 3, tap it, and put a token. That's a copy of the exiled card. It gains haste. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step. Really good card. A lot of value creatures die, and a lot of just great creatures die, and this just basically says, "Oh, I want that one. I want that one." Also, there's technically ways of, I believe. Oh no, I took that out. Sorry. There are ways of abusing this even more with untaps and also with token doublers. So that's always something to look out for. Nihil Spellbomb, 1 mana artifact, sacrifice it, exile all cards from target player's graveyard, and you may pay black when you do that. If you do, draw a card. So, again, it technically cantrips for 2 mana, and it exiles graveyards. You also can recur it with like a Sun Titan or some other effects. Phyrexian Arena, 1 black for an enchantment. Beginning of your upkeep, draw a card, lose a life. Simple, card advantage. Reese the Redeemed, 1 Selesnya for a 1/1 Elf Warrior. With 2 in a Selesnya, tap it, put a 1/1 green and white Elf Warrior token on the battlefield, and for 4 Selesnya, you may tap it. For each creature token you control, put a token into play that's a copy of that creature. So it doubles all your tokens. This does include the Living Death, or not Living Death, the Mimic Vat tokens, although I'm pretty sure they still exile at the end of turn. Runescar Demon, 5 and 2 black for a 6/6 flying demon that demonic tutors on entry. Again, it's got a nice body. You can recur it with Mimic Vat, Living Death, stuff like that. This is a new card I'm testing out. Seasons Pass, 4 green for sorcery. Return any number of cards with different converted mana costs from your graveyard to your hand. Then you put this on the bottom of the owner's library. I'm testing this out. We've got curves, so we'll see how good it is. This is the newest addition to the deck. Seedborn Muse for 3 and 2 green, 2/4 spirit. Untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. So, there's a reason Prophet of Kruphix got banned. This is a worse Prophet of Kruphix, but it's still very good. It allows you to risk the Redeemed on opponent's turns. It allows you to do your Mimic Vat on other people's turns. It allows you just to get Ghave triggers on other people's turns without having to worry about keeping mana up. Next up is Sterling Grove, green and white. All enchantments you control have Shroud, and you can pay 1, sacrifice it, search your library for an enchantment, put that card on top of your library. So it searches out combo pieces, and it also protects them. Next up is Sun Titan, 4 green or 4 white for a 6/6 Vigilance Giant. When it enters or attacks, you may return target permanent with CMC 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, really good card. It lets you get back your Mimic Vat, your Elixir. I mean, I don't know what your Elixir would be there, but you know, Spellbomb, Riss, Phyrexian Arena. So, oftentimes you'll actually get Swiftfoot Boots. Swiftfoot Boots, 2 mana equipment. Equipped creature has Hexproof and Haste and equips for 1. Because that way you can swing in the first turn. Next up, Sylvan Library, 1 and a green for an enchantment. Beginning of your draw step, you draw 2 additional cards, and you can pay 4 life for each card you want to keep. If not, put them back in any order. So, this allows you to dig. It doesn't allow you to exactly brainstorm, but it's close. And if you have shuffle effects, it basically gets you a set of 3 new cards every turn. Vidalcan Ori, 4 mana artifact. You have all your non-land cards have flash. So, again, with that and Seedborn Muse, you have your Prophet of Kruphix. It's actually a little better, too. Worldly Tutor, 1 green, search your library for a creature card, shuffle, and then put that on top. Again, a lot of value creatures and a lot of silver bullets, so. I'll shortly go over the ramp. There's quite a bit. I'm going to go a little quickly. Awakening Zone gets you a Eldrazi that you can sacrifice for either an attack effect or the mana. It's nice. Black Market generates you a lot of black mana. Chromatic Lantern fixes. Cultivate ramps you and gets you another land for the next turn. Explosive Vegetation does the same for 2 basics. Farhaven Elf searches, ramps you 1, and leaves you a 1/1 that can block or do whatever. The Signets, again, ramp you. Land Tax, this isn't Sorry, this isn't exactly ramp, this is fixing, but I'm putting it in there. Mirari's Wake, creatures get +1/+1, and it doubles any mana that you tap for lands. So this is how you cast all those big mana spells. Ranger's Path gets you 2 forest cards and put them onto the battlefield. Note, that's just forest, it's not a basic forest. Sacred Tribe Elder, again, that's a ramp spell. And this one actually dies, so it's a free sacrifice, just in case you need one. Again, Celestia Signet makes sense. Soul Ring, gotta have one in almost every deck. And Wood Elves does the same, but gets you a forest, and it also puts it in the battlefield untapped. So, just in case. So, we've gone over that. I'm not really going to go over the lands. I'll point out anything that I find interesting, but my lands are not perfect. I don't run all the shocks. I don't run all the fetches, because I just don't own them. So, sorry about that. Bojuka Bog exiles a graveyard. Again, really nice. Where is it? Grim Backwards gives you card draw if you really need it. It's expensive, but Crozen Verge ramps you. It also doesn't look for basics. Reliquary Tower because you're going to be drawing cards eventually. Let's see, what else? Stirring Wildwood, manland that can block creatures with flying. Some people don't really look at it. Let's see, Temple of Silence, Skylands. And then Vitu-Ghazi, the City Tree, lets you create Saplings. So, now let's go on to the combo potential with Ghave. This is the meat of the deck. This is basically how you win most of the time. So, I'll go over the basic combo. It's Astronaut's Altar, with Ghave, of course, on the field. 3 mana for an artifact. Sacrifice a creature, you add 2 colorless to your mana pool. So, what do you do with 2 colorless? Well, if you've got Cathar's Crusade out, you can pay for 3 and 2 white, you get an enchantment. Whenever a creature enters under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So with Ghave, you pay 1, remove a counter, make a Saproling. Cathar's triggers, they each get a +1/+1 counter, and then you sacrifice the Saproling for 2 colorless mana. You've just netted a mana. It's not colored mana, but it gives you infinite ETBs, infinite death triggers. So that's the basic combo. Blade does similar things to Cathar's Crusade with Ghave. It doesn't exactly actually it does combo off, but it only gives it for Ghave. Blood Arts is how you kill people with infinite death triggers. You just drain them. Corpse Jack Menace is similar. It doubles all the counters placed on a creature. So Ghave comes in as a 10/10, which is nice. Fecundity is how you refill your hand. Be careful, it is a unilateral effect. So whenever a creature dies, that creature's controller draws a card. So you do have to be careful if you're running against a lot of token strategies that basically outmatch you really quickly. Machias is basically how you get any of your other creatures to be combo pieces. Anything with an ETB or death trigger, Machias and Ghave allow it. Because when it dies through, Ghave will sacrifice it, it'll come back with a +1/+1 counter, and you can remove the counter and then sacrifice it again, and then it'll come back. So, really nice. Parallel Lives is how you double your token effects, like your just Ghave himself, or some of the other effects I was talking about earlier. Skull Clamp is a draw engine on Ghave. Yes, you lose out on counters, but that's fine. And Spike Weaver is how you fog. You can put counters onto it with Ghave or take them off if need be. So that's really nice. And then Woodfall Primus is another win con of the deck. Him and Ghave are really kind of stupid. For 5 and triple green, you get a 6/6 Tree Folk Shaman with Trample. When it enters, destroy target non-creature permanent, and it's got Persist. So, when it enters, you destroy a target non-land, non-creature permanent. Be careful, that's not a may, it's a must. But, it enters, destroys something, you sacrifice it to put a counter on Ghave. it comes back with a minus minus counter. You take the counter that you just added to make a sapperling, sacrifice the sapperling to put the counter on the woodfall, and then sacrifice the woodfall. When a minus minus counter and a +1/+1 counter have been placed on a creature, they both cancel each other out, so it can persist again. So, that'll be it for the deck, Teck. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope the audio is clear this time because this is the second time recording it. If you're interested at all, I'll leave the links in the description. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys later.